Victory Kids, Pastor Amy here, and it's time to go over our monthly memory verse. This month, our verse is found in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verses 10 and 11. It says this: God is strong, and He wants you strong. Put on the full armor of God. Ephesians 6, 10 and 11. Now, I want you to watch carefully as I show you the motions. They go like this. God, point up like we're pointing to God, is strong, make some muscles. And He wants you, point out, to be strong, make some more muscles. Put on the full armor of God. We're going to put on our armor. Ready? Put on the full armor of God. Ephesians 6, 10 and 11. Open your hands just like you're opening up a Bible. Pretty easy, right? Okay, now this time I want you to join in and do it with me. You ready? Here we go. God is strong, and He wants you strong. Put on the full armor of God. Ephesians 6, 10 and 11. Great job. Okay, now I want you to do it one more time, but this time I want you to stand up on your feet right where you're at. You ready? Here we go. God is strong, and He wants you strong. Put on the full armor of God. Ephesians 6, 10 and 11. Great job, Victory Kids. You can go ahead and sit back down now.
God's story. Esther. So part of God's story is about a woman named Esther, and it goes like this. Esther was adopted by her cousin Mordecai because her parents died. She and Mordecai were Jewish, which means they were part of God's special family. Our story begins right before Esther becomes queen, and God's family gets in some serious danger. Now, even though Esther was Jewish, she lived in Persia, which was ruled by King Xerxes. One night, King Xerxes wanted to show off his wife, Queen Vashti, at a party. She said no.
Shut up.
So he said Vashti could never see him again, and he needed a new queen. So the king invited all the single ladies in Persia to his palace for a year. He decided Esther was prettiest, and she became queen. Really? But as crazy as that sounds, it was a good choice because Esther saved his life. See, one day, Mordecai overheard two guards plotting to kill the king. So he told Esther, and Esther told Xerxes. Around the same time, another powerful man at the palace, Haman, got really mad at Mordecai. He didn't know Mordecai had saved the king's life, or that he was the queen's cousin. So he made a rule that all Jews must die. Like we said, he was really mad. And the king let Haman make this law because he had no idea that Mordecai or Esther were Jewish. Well, all the Jewish people were heartbroken. But Mordecai thought maybe Esther could save them. She was queen after all. Problem is, only a king could change laws. And anybody who even spoke to the king when he didn't want to listen could die. Including Esther. But she was willing to try. She said, "If I die, I die." Talk about brave. So Esther visited the king. To her relief, he said, "What do you want? I'll give it to you." Esther had a plan. Politely, she invited King Xerxes and Haman to dinner. She had saved the king's life. Now she was making a special dinner for him. Xerxes liked that. He said yes. That night, the king asked Esther what she wanted again. And again, Esther invited them to dinner. Haman was thrilled to be invited to dine with the king and queen. Twice! But even with this special treatment, he knew he couldn't be truly happy until Mordecai was dead. So he came up with a plan to kill him the next day. But that same day, the king realized that Mordecai had never been honored for saving him. So Xerxes asked Haman how to honor someone. Haman thought the king was going to honor him. Instead, he honored Mordecai. So Haman was already in a bad mood when he got to dinner. But his day went from bad to worse. See, Esther finally told the king that someone made a law to destroy her people. Xerxes was furious and asked, "Who dared to do such a thing?" Esther told him, it was Haman. Then the king found out that Haman wanted to kill Mordecai too. Enraged, he ordered that Haman be killed. After that, King Xerxes told Mordecai to make a new law to save the Jewish people. They honored Mordecai and celebrated with a feast. Esther had been willing to risk her life for her people, and she ended up saving them. Like Esther, another rescuer would come one day, and he would actually die to save all of God's special family. And that's the story of Esther. So, in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Esther was Jewish. She became queen. Mordecai overheard a plan. He told Esther. Esther told King Xerxes. Mordecai made Haman mad. Haman made a law. The Jewish people were sad. Esther was brave. She had a plan. She told the king about Haman. The king got rid of Haman. God's family was saved. And that's a part of God's story.